hit you so hard your dog will
Doyle?
bleed, okay?
Dad! Your working class ego can't handle a kid of my position.
What do you like to do for fun? Well, you like to wiggle and grunt. Me too.
I can pay for my breakfast.
Nothing burps better than bacon.
Welcome back to Cocktail Cinema, folks, and happy holiday season. As always, I am your first favorite bartender and third favorite author, Josh Price, and I am joined by my co-host, Greg, and our producer, Shasti.
Hello. Happy holidays.
How we doing, boys?
Good, real good.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Right.
It's the happy times.
Sorta.
It's the happy times.
Ready for some turkey din?
Yeah, we are, leading into Thanksgiving here with one of the few true Thanksgiving movies.
Absolutely.
1991's Dutch. This movie was directed by the great John Hughes with a budget of $17 million and a surprising box office return of only $4.6 million.
It's kind of weird.
This is a hidden gem in a lot of senses.
Right.
It's very much a John Hughes movie. His fingerprints are all over it, including who he chose to be his leading man.
I suppose. You know him by Ed O'Neill as Dutch Dooley. Good old Al Bundy. Polk football champion. Great job by him in this movie. Ethan Embry as Doyle. He's the soon-to-be stepson of this man. Joe Beth Williams as his mom, and Christopher McDonald Reed as his stepdad.
That is not Reed. That is Shooter McGavin. Rich Shooter McGavin as
Pretty much the same guy.
Same
Right.
person, right? Right. What are you doing here?
No, I honestly think that's a good place to start because obviously he's playing Shooter McGavin. We have a shooter in front of us.
That's right.
Okay.
We do, don't we?
So
Oh,
when I was thinking about this movie, I was thinking about not just the holiday, but the people that are in this movie. So Shooter McGavin's kind of a trumped up guy. So is his character in this movie. So is Doyle. So we have a gin martini in front of us. However,
Excuse me.
it's got a little spin. It's got a holiday spin. So you have an ounce and a half of gin. We're using Bombay today because we wanted to be classy. Half an ounce of Palma liqueur and an ounce and a half of cranberry juice. And so it's kind of a Cosmo, kind of a, there came my coaster with me. It's kind of a Cosmo, kind of a martini.
I was promised shots of gravy. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say
You
that,
were.
but I'll take the cranberry cocktail too. Let's see how.
I didn't think
got
it would
some
go
gravy.
good with dinner, considering we had
Do you know,
barbecue.
I have gravy booster up there. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a droplet. All right, never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
take this
All
straight.
right, pinkies out, gentlemen. Pinkies out.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So
Oh, that's good.
it's very gin forward. So you get a lot of that seasonal pininess, but then you've got the cranberry to smooth it out. The Palma liqueur is not as prominent as you would expect it to be. So it's a real smooth finish.
Right. Yeah, nice work.
It's good.
It's good.
Speaking of smooth finishes and rocky starts, let's talk Dutch.
Nice seg, bud. Nice seg.
So this is a road trip movie, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much cut and dried,
Absolutely.
but it's still got its own personality. A lot of that is Ed O'Neill, playing a very Ed O'Neill character. I like to describe him as like the working man's David Duchovny.
Look at that face. He's a master of his own face. His facial expressions are second to none among any
He is.
any actor ever. Just the way he goes through these scenarios is
It's
great.
like Jim from The Office took a note from Ed O'Neill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's constantly looking
Yeah.
in the camera and doing the
Yeah,
face.
Ed,
not
you know
afraid
what?
to look
That's a
stupid,
good
not afraid
point.
to look ugly.
Yeah, he's just he very much owns who he is as an actor,
Yeah.
and in this role, the character
Same
owns
thing.
who he is
That's
in a very
perfect, yeah.
similar way. So it was a cookie cutter role for him. It was a perfect fit. And across from him is this little prick named Doyle.
Ethan Embry.
Folks,
Man is
we
bad.
do not get the opportunity to watch these movies together very often. So this movie, I will tell you, is a little hard to get a hold of sometimes. It doesn't stream anywhere, but you can find the DVD on Amazon, which is what I did. And we all came to Greg's new digs, and we watched it on his very comfortable couch. And
Not one couch. We didn't all sit in one couch.
we all sat in one chair. And
We drank and we just yelled about how we wanted to kill this kid the entire time.
from the get-go, I'm like, the kid pulls a gun on Dutch, and I'm like, does he shoot the kid? He's got to shoot. I hope he shoots the kid. And lo and behold, I am prophetic. So all of my opinions should be taken as gospel from here out. All my predictions.
All those sippable opinions.
Yeah,
Right.
sip on them, take them for what they're worth.
Amen. But yeah, I told you. Just wait for it. It's gonna happen. He will get shot in his butt.
Yeah, it's a good, it's a plant and payoff that is coming, but it's still satisfying.
Right.
Even though I think the laugh, this movie ends with kind of a silent laugh. There's music playing over the scene, and everybody's laughing and having a good time. That goes on a little too long, but that's one of my few nitpicks with this movie. It knows what it is. It knows who its audience is, and it plays to its strengths, which is John Hughes' bread and butter. He knows what he's doing with his stories.
I think for this one, the only one that separates from the regular John Hughes movies is it's not in a 4x4 wall. You know, most of them are within a house, within a classroom, within just stationary areas. I think this is kind of where he set off on that, and it was fun. It's one of my favorite like movies that nobody ever watches. You know,
I agree
for that
with you.
reason because it's moving, it's ever moving, it's ever changing, and it's not really. Yes, he creates that ever-changing character scenario, but in this movie, the scenery is changing too around them, which doesn't seem to happen a lot in his movies.
Right, but he's still utilizing the car. All of the car scenes are those 4x4 scenes, so you still have the comfort of the typical John Hughes
Until it gets
small
blown up by a
space
semi-truck.
Right. Well, then they get in a muscle car, and then I mean, he still utilizes it, but not the way he normally does. He's using it as the safe space where he has some of those more serious conversations. He develops the initial relationship between the characters in the car, and then he utilizes the wide world to widen and broaden the rest of the tale. Like he's not confined to these conversations in the vehicle. He opens the door literally and then blows up the scene literally.
Yeah.
And gives himself all this room to direct. And it's done well.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's confined to like the small sets, you know, in a school or wherever generally, but it's more planes, trains, and automobiles. You know, which is his other Thanksgiving movie, his other road trip movie. But it gets swept under the rug because it's not John Candy. It's
right.
It's Ed O'Neill. I mean, he was doing his thing at the time with Married with Children.
Yeah.
It was one of the most like successful shows at the time. But it's still kind of John Hughes's most underrated movie, I would say, or overlooked at least.
Yeah,
definitely overlooked for sure.
Because I mean, I brought this to the table. I think a couple months back. And I was like, we were talking about Thanksgiving movies and what we should do, and certain things came up, and I'm like, you guys ever seen Dutch? And Josh's like, yeah, hell yeah, I've seen Dutch. You're like, what the fuck is Dutch?
Yeah, I'd never seen this before.
So
this was great.
Like you said, you can't find it on HBO Plus and Yahoo. I'm sorry,
Can't find it on Yahoo videos either.
Yeah, right.
Like you can't find it anywhere. Like you actually get
to buy
have a
this thing,
physical
like,
copy.
You had to buy this thing like 2 months ago to get it here. So yeah, it's overlooked.
And it was clearly overlooked in its time too, because like you were saying, not only was Ed O'Neill Married with Children. I don't know if he was literally Married with Children. He's on Married with Children, but he hosted SNL around this time too. So like he's a hot enough name to be on primetime Saturday night television.
Oh yeah.
And this movie was panned. It got what? Let's see. A quarter of its budget back in the box office. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is not a typical John Hughes turnout, or you wouldn't expect it to be a typical John Hughes turnout.
Right.
I mean, you talk about John Hughes, you're talking about titans like Breakfast Club, like we have on the wall, or St. Elmo's Fire, and just all that Brat Pack stuff. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. The guy just has hit after hit, and then there's this awkward stepchild.
Give and take. Yeah.
It's strange that it was overlooked.
Oof, man! Just looking at that picture, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what this man went through to get
both
Doyle.
you guys have kids, and you're like, this is the worst. I was like, really? Dude? He must be bad. He must be real bad.
Ruthless. At the same time, glorious. Like he was forced to grow up early. You know.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. He is the child of Reed
Yeah.
Christopher McDonald. Exactly.
I think that's an excellent point because it speaks to the writing prowess and surprisingly the ability of the child actor, which is a rarity.
Right.
Where
Yeah, he is good.
yeah, you've got this. You expect Christopher McDonald to be a dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't expect is for the kid to be so like in real life. You expect kids to be like their parents. Like if you have just a shit person dad, I expect you from experience as a child to be a jerk.
Yeah.
So like if in this case if you're a stuck up rich kid, it's because your dad is somebody special or thinks he's somebody special. Like in this area, you can go to certain towns and this is exactly the kind of person that you encounter. And this kid plays it so well that it's entirely believable. And I'm watching Dutch. I'm like, I've met you.
Right.
I've met you. You were the kind of kid I fought in grade school.
And you know what? It's not even just about that. It's about how prolonged that effort is through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of these movies you watch, it's like the kids fold after one or two tough situations.
Yeah.
It's time and time and time. Every time you think he's going to get better, or things are going to get better for their interaction. It's like, no, they push. You're like, what the
He
fuck?
gets
What's it going
worse.
to take? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
And they're doing like the coolest, like this is the coolest guy to pick you
Yeah,
up for
dude,
a road trip. Like,
gonna
hand me
smoke
one of those
cigars.
stogies,
He's-
get some
he's got
fireworks.
he's got the racy
fireworks.
playing
Yeah,
cards.
right.
And it's just a coincidence that the ladies of the night pick him up.
Right.
Like,
How
You
to
had,
sleep,
you had a
Ace.
really good point when the fireworks scene came on.
yeah.
You were talking about how in any other movie, this is the moment where the kid turns
Right.
and he's on your side.
Yeah.
But you're only a half hour in. Ed O'Neill is going balls out to get this kid to like him. And we've still got another hour to go before they're going to be friends.
Yeah, it gets much worse.
It gets so much worse.
And then he shoots him
There.
there.
Yeah. I mean, this kid is violent. This kid is very violent.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it so much. He looks at his hand.
Yeah.
Oh man, didn't know what he could do with that hand. But at the same time, like he's bent over the same way. He just gives you off and on shots of he's letting the kid win.
Yeah.
Maybe intentional and
Yeah.
not intentional at certain points, but I feel like that was the way he's folded in certain situations. And
He knows.
doesn't
He
get up.
knows. Yeah.
He's like, let him win. Let him win one because the kid's not used to winning because it's all about winning for him.
Mm-hmm.
His dad said that early on in the movie, but yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta
Well, the
let
kid
the
always
win.
takes second place, and even though he thinks he's always
Right.
winning, kid takes second place. So, and he does have a line in the very beginning where he's talking. Dutch is talking to Doyle's mom. He goes, "Look, I've known guys who we were bitter enemies, but after a road trip,
when the smoke clears.
when the smoke clears,
He said quite literally.
yeah, when the
I've-
smoke clears,
Yeah.
I have a new friend."
I walk away with a new friend. Yeah.
And that's I thought that was, I mean, you know that's what the movie's about,
Yeah.
walking into it, but it's such a
But they leave
clear
doubt
way,
because of
yeah,
how bad
yeah.
it gets.
Yeah.
And how he says, most of the time, I walk away with a new friend. You're like,
yeah.
I don't like that most of the time.
Well, I think
this
that-
is going to get ugly.
At the back of that time, he's like, the other times, the guy left with a dent
Put
in
it-
his head.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Or he's going to say he's going to kick him so hard his dog bleeds.
Yeah,
Right.
so good. It's good interaction to see Reed's an asshole. His mom's awesome.
They all played their roles
too-
perfectly.
Yeah, right.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's perfect. Doyle was awesome. I mean, as much of an asshole, you want to kick the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
For being a child actor, quit playing. Who else could do that? Who else?
You're hard pressed to,
And
to
the-
think of
this-
anybody.
like
That
Jonathan
the
Taylor
scene-
Thomas? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so, John.
JTT.
but the scene where Ed O'Neill's like teaching him to act,
Yeah.
act, poor, and
the
it's like the kid really lays it on thick. It's like that's when I was like I didn't realize how good of an actor he was the whole time because I was
Yeah.
just mad at how
yeah,
much of an ass he was.
Yep.
And he was selling me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The whole time I didn't realize how good of
Yeah.
an I didn't give him credit until that
Yeah.
scene. I'm like, dude, you're killing it.
Yep.
he does a great
Killing
job.
it.
Does a great job. And like you said, I can't think of another child actor at that time who could have really done this.
Yeah.
I mean, even Macaulay Culkin, who had that quirky range, I don't think he could have. Like he did
This is
Richie
outside
Rich,
it, yeah,
but he
yes.
couldn't do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it did very well cast, very well cast. But John Hughes is known for his casting.
Right.
I mean, Breakfast Club is probably the best example of that because he knows his character types, he knows his archetypes, and when he went looking for who looks like a rich brat, you're my boy.
Well, not to mention that
Who looks like they could be?
Joe Beth Williams, his mom, is kind of similar to Molly Ringwald.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, John Hughes has a thing for redheads.
I
That's
guess.
for sure. That's
I
for
think,
sure.
I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that casting for Doyle, that we see it in the first scene. There's Colt from Three Ninjas.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you know
Oh,
for sure
yeah.
he was in the
Yeah.
tryout. He was in the casting call too for that role
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Doyle played a part.
Yeah, and then Doyle is also in the gym doing karate
Mhm.
while Colt comes in. Right?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, he's a low brown belt.
Low brown belt, right? I don't know. I don't know.
Which I thought was both like, yes, it's an actual thing, but it's also a nod to the kind of humor that is throughout this movie. It's
Yeah. Right.
lowbrow humor.
Mm-hmm.
So excellent nod during some subtle dialogue there. And this movie's got, outside of that, some very emotional scenes you wouldn't expect in a movie that has stripper playing cards. Like,
Yeah. No.
you don't expect that moment in the homeless shelter to be so impactful,
Right.
especially considering it basically starts out with a gag with the cot falling apart,
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
so
it
good.
transitions
so funny.
into this
That's the total plane train
huge
automobile
punch
movie.
in the gut.
Yeah. Right.
I'm looking at that scene, and I'm just kind of tearing up because I see these families all over. It's like I cannot imagine
Right.
being in that position with my son.
And that's
It would kill me.
exactly what what John Hughes was trying to emulate. You know,
Yeah.
Doyle's never seen anything like that. He's been
Yeah.
fed through a golden straw, not even a spoon.
Yeah, never had to touch the-
work.
yeah.
Just had to put people in place. You know, so yeah, and
Yeah.
it does suck going back to the Thanksgiving time. You know, there's a lot of people that are worse off than us, and
Totally.
totally everybody falls into it.
This is a
Hang
good
on.
reminder.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder, and it's very subtle in how it does it because this is a comedy, and it's not based around any sort of impoverished situation.
Right.
They just come across it, and it's a part of their journey. And I mean, our boy Joseph Campbell would have some words about how that played out, but it was very well executed. Because it is one of those turning points for Doyle's character. And it's kind of a turning point for Dutch, too, because Dutch realizes, I made the right choice by sticking with this kid. Like, this is going to work.
Yeah,
I can
and
teach him
he almost
something.
gave up. You know,
I kind of wonder if he did a little bit.
he did at
give
that
up.
gas station.
I think he really did,
Yeah,
like, call your mom, I'm not going
yeah, I'm
home.
done.
Well, when he told him he lied that he didn't have money at first.
Yeah,
And he
Yeah.
was like, I had $200 in the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
He counted his money in the hotel room the night before, and it was like $380 or something. Like there
I
was
I counted 220.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's definitely more than
Yeah.
what he said.
Yeah.
So that was definitely like,
yeah.
I don't know if he had an ace up his sleeve, but it kind of felt like he was giving up at that point to me.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Maybe
Well,
that,
and
it's
he didn't
he
show
felt
all
the-
of his,
so
he
the
didn't show all of his cards to Dutch to Doyle
Show him
because
the nudie cards.
well,
showed
I
him the
guess.
ace.
But Doyle's dad's really well off,
Mm-hmm.
and he keeps calling Dutch working class asshole. You know, the
Yeah.
whole way. It's like, yeah, no, I worked my way up, blah blah blah. And then as they're passing by going home, you see, Dutch Dooley construction,
Mm-hmm.
this that and the other. You can tell he makes not of it earlier on in the movie. Like I gave your
well
mom
for
more.
myself.
I make more than your mom or your dad gives your mom a month.
And that kind of
He
makes
said a
Doyle
slate
raise
full.
his
He
eyebrows.
said I make a slate full more than your mom.
So, yeah,
your dad
right.
gets your
So-
mom every month.
I thought that was cool. He just subtly like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need your sympathy. I don't want it.
He wears it well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my
I'm
dad
an
for
old
being a cool.
fashioned,
Yeah.
pig
Mhm.
nose, blue collar,
There you go.
hard headed working dude. Yeah.
Amen.
No, I dig it. And while, I mean, this is not the caliber of film that would stand up against like The Godfather or The Departed. It
Well,
is.
of course.
Yeah.
It is
There's
still.
only so many Thanksgiving movies.
Well, yeah, it's still got quality to it that gives it a place in cinema history. It's still a John Hughes movie in his style that tells a somewhat unique story.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we've got some similar tales told. I mean, what was it Kurt Vonnegut said? There's 11 stories that can be told. This is taking that familiar road trip where enemies at first, friends at the end thing, and it really talks about so many other things while they're traveling. It does
True.
talk about the working class, like the amount of working class people that they interact with from so many different walks of life, from construction to waiting tables to working at a gas station to Ladies of the Night. You know, there's so many different experiences here.
Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's like we said, John Hughes Thanksgiving. It's similar in a lot of senses, but that's probably the only other road trip movie I can think of where it's not just like friends starting off going on a road trip, and then maybe they become enemies and then work it out, throughout.
I mean, he pulled the kid out of his school taped to a hockey stick.
Right. I wish that was one of the movie posters. I should use that one instead.
No, I mean, if you want to compare it to something a little more recent, like Due Date, that's somewhat. I mean, that movie's like 11 years old now, but
okay.
It's another road trip where it's an obnoxious person on one side and a very clean-cut, kind of stuck-up person on the other. It doesn't stand up to this at all. It doesn't hold a candle to Dutch, and that's Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
So we've got some quality here, some very unique quality, and there's not a whole lot else that I have to say about it without really spoiling some of the more important bits.
Yeah, no. Stands alone.
Yeah.
Speaks for itself. Watch it. John Hughes. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Any final production thoughts before we move to
production? No, just I think the
taco ratings,
the ins and outs of characters. The way they interact. Yeah,
that's really the star of the show.
Embry, I feel like they should be best friends right now. Like, they're slapping each other around in a bar or something stupid like that. But no, that's the biggest thing. Is it's character analysis, character growth, plot.
Totally,
that's it.
I dig it. This was the first time I saw this movie, and I'm glad you brought it to the table. Now, I think I see our server coming. We're going to have to order some tacos.
Excuse me, miss.
Greg.
Yeah.
Out of 100 tacos, 100 being the best, 0 being the worst, how would you rate Dutch?
I rate this as a... Oh, I'm sorry, I stumbled. I love it. Not the best movie ever. 72 tacos. 72 tacos.
Totally fair.
I'll give it 70 tacos. I think it's the most underrated John Hughes movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't put it above, you know what I mean? Some of his other movies that are similar or different. But I feel like I'm being generous too with 70, but I'm going to give it 70.
Yeah, you're probably right.
No, I do agree with you guys. I'm giving it a 75. A very solid, if this is a school rating, a C. Because like you said, there are John Hughes has made better movies, but this is still worth watching at least once. Anything in the 70s range for me is, go ahead and give it a watch. It's worth it. So 75, for what it is, it knows what kind of movie it is. It's not trying too hard. It's not trying to be anything special. It's just being a fun, heartwarming movie. Now, critics disagree. The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is a 17. Whatever. This is rotten in their eyes, and
4 people that did that.
It was at a 62 from fans, so we're kind of rating this a little high. But I think we're also looking at the quality of the character development because that's what shines out to us.
It's 23 reviews. I was gonna say.
That's what I'm saying. How many people?
5,000 plus audience.
Yeah.
Seeing that 17, I was like, there's probably 17. And that's long and short of it.
It's worth giving it a watch. I'm not gonna say it's gonna become a Thanksgiving staple for you, but if you want a nice heartwarming comedy that's a little raunchy at times and a little feel good at other times, probably shouldn't have said those two things together. Go ahead and give Dutch
Joshua
a watch. 1991's Dutch. Audience, loved ones, future Doyles, thank you for making it this far in this podcast. We appreciate every single one of you, except for Doyle. And and y'all know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, all that fun stuff. I'm sure at some point there'll be like a confetti button down the line. That'll be great. If you're listening to this on a podcast delivery service, give us a rating. Every little rating counts. It helps us get in front of more people and, share more of our sippable opinions. If you'd like to take your support of the podcast even further, you can hop on over to patreon.com/sippableopinions. And there, for as little as $1 a month or as much as you would totally like, you can get exclusive access to our show, The Sip, early access to all of our episodes and shows, pilots, all that good stuff, exclusive merch. Y'all know Patreon. They're good people. They do good work, and they've been really helping us reach you guys. Our current patrons, we cannot thank you enough, especially during these holiday times, because you have helped us.
Thank you.
Really grow in the last year and a half. Now, Greg, Shasti, Josh, I have felt my own heart grow in the last 20 minutes or so, and I cannot bear it anymore because I don't like having a heart. So, Greg, love you. Shasti, I love you. But I have to say goodbye.
I'm Dutch Dooley. I'm a friend of your mother's.